Today's story is about the infamous insurance murderer In-Sook case that shook South Korea in the early 2000s. She targeted family and acquaintances, with a total of 10 victims, among whom 3 died and 5 were blinded. On February 13th, 2005, a call came through 119 reporting a fire at a hospital. Firefighters rushed to the scene, where a sudden blaze had erupted at a specialized burn treatment hospital in Gangnam, Seoul. Fortunately, due to swift action, there were no casualties. The investigative team immediately began probing the cause of the fire. During the investigation, an unusual item was found on the stairs: a shopping bag with a dog printed on it, containing a bottle of gasoline. Suspecting arson, not just a mere fire incident, the police swiftly searched the hospital and nearby buildings' CCTV footage. They identified a person who had purchased the same bag from a convenience store near the hospital on the night of the fire, and also bought gasoline from a nearby gas station. The person in the CCTV footage was a slender young woman, 106 centimeters tall. The suspect was soon apprehended by the police on attempted arson charges. She was identified as In-Sook, 29 years old. Detectives were surprised to see her beauty, finding it hard to believe that she could commit arson. While being interrogated at the police station, she suddenly fainted, leaving a puddle of urine where she was seated. She was taken to the hospital, where no health issues were found. Upon waking up, she tearfully mentioned how seeing the flames reminded her of her deceased daughter. She confessed that her 3-year-old daughter had died from a brain injury in 2000, 5 years prior to the incident. She admitted that since then, whenever she saw flames, she saw her baby's face in them. The police attributed her actions to trauma-induced arson impulses. The statement about her daughter's death was verified. Additionally, she had another sick son, and due to various circumstances such as no one to look after him if she were arrested, the police decided to conduct the investigation without detention. However, a few days later, her younger brother came to the police station and claimed that wherever his sister went, only bad things happened. He mentioned that her sister had been married twice, and both her first and second husbands died suddenly. He also spoke of someone always being injured or dying around her. The police found this suspicious and decided to secretly investigate further. They started by closely examining second husband, Hong, who had recently died. Back in May 2002, 3 years earlier, Hong had met at a nightclub in Seoul, starting a relationship. Unlike the ordinary office worker Hong, she claimed to come from a wealthy family. She introduced herself as a kindergarten teacher, having graduated with a degree in early childhood education. She also mentioned that her older brother was in the military academy, and her younger brother was studying in the United States. They quickly became close and began living together the same month. 6 months later, in November 2002, Hong suddenly fell in the bathroom, injuring his tailbone. He was 6 feet 1 inch tall and a fourth Dan in martial arts, so such an accident was not common for him. What was even stranger was that he had no recollection of the events before or after the incident. Then, a few days later, he woke up unable to see from his right eye. The hospital said it was a trace of something piercing through his eyeball. Again, he had no memory of it. According to his family, took care of him diligently in the hospital. Although they were not married at the time, was pregnant with Hong's child. So, she went straight to the district office to register their marriage. However, Hong eventually passed away in February 2003. The cause of death was complications from a bacterial infection. Surprisingly, held a soul marriage ceremony with him after his death. Hong's family was very grateful to her. They mentioned that she was always very kind, which is why everyone liked her. The police didn't see any suspicion regarding Hong's sudden death related to so they decided to look into her first husband's case as well. Upon examining his records, the police found shocking details. First husband had been hospitalized over 10 times during their 4-year marriage. Twice he had suffered from brain injuries, and like Hong, he had no memory of how he fell. He also went blind for the same reason. Again, there was no memory of the incidents, and he eventually died in the hospital. The process and causes leading to the deaths of the first and second husbands were eerily similar. The police decided to arrest and when they presented her with the arrest warrant, she had another seizure and collapsed. She was immediately taken to the hospital, where again there were no physical issues. However, the police had no choice but to hospitalize her again and investigate her family. Shockingly, both her mother and brother were also blind. Thus, gruesome crimes slowly came to light. Originally from Gangwon Province, was born in 1976 as the second child out of two brothers and one sister. She was notorious as a troublemaker from her school days, even getting expelled for theft in high school. However, she was also famous for her exceptionally beautiful appearance. After graduating from high school, she started her social life in Seoul as an insurance planner. What she had told her second husband was all lies. In 1997, married her first husband, Lee. They had a daughter who passed away at the age of 3. Mr. Lee worked at a moving center to make ends meet. Was very vain and extravagant, using shopping to cope with the sadness of losing her daughter. In March 2000, fraudulently took out 4 insurance policies in her husband's name within a month, with herself as the beneficiary. She then obtained a prescription for sleeping pills from a psychiatrist under the pretext of depression treatment. In April 2000, a month later, gave her husband a vitamin drink laced with sleeping pills. When he became drowsy, she pushed him, causing him to suffer a concussion. She then exaggerated the incident as an accident due to sleepwalking and received insurance money. Her crimes escalated further. A month later, she again gave her husband a drink spiked with sleeping pills, and when he fell asleep, she stabbed his eyes with a clothespin, causing him to go blind. Around a year later, in June 2001, she again drugged her husband with sleeping pills, and when he fell into a deep sleep, she poured boiling oil on his face. Meticulously pretended to nurse her husband to deceive those around her. A month later, she staged an incident where her husband, under the influence of medication, appeared to self-harm with a knife, and eventually he died in agony in March 2002. Extensive crimes against her husband over 2 years totaled 58 incidents, and she received a total of $250,000 in insurance money. She was only 24 years old when she committed her first crime. Just 2 months after the funeral of her first husband, met her second husband, Hong, and her crimes repeated, resulting in his death. Crimes didn't end there. In July 2003, she visited her mother in her hometown of Gangwon Province. She gave her mother a drugged beverage, claiming it was a health drink, and when her mother fell asleep, she took out a syringe needle and stabbed both of her mother's eyes. As a result, her mother lost her eyesight. In the same year, in November, her fourth target was her younger brother. She drugged his drink with sleeping pills, and when he fell deeply asleep, she poured hydrochloric acid into both his eyes, causing him to go blind. She blinded them to claim blindness insurance, which had a payout amount second only to death insurance. She received a total of $550,000 in compensation from insurance companies. When arrested, admitted to all her crimes. When asked why she needed so much money, she claimed that she started using drugs due to severe depression after her daughter's death. However, her drug test showed no traces, another lie. Medical professionals suspected her of having a borderline personality disorder skilled in deception. Most of the insurance money she received was simply used for indulgence and buying things she wanted. Even more shocking was in January 2005 when she took advantage of her mother and brother's blindness to secretly sell the family's apartment. However, fearing that this would be discovered, she set the house on fire. Fortunately, the fire was extinguished, but her family suffered burns. Her crimes didn't end there. She committed crimes against acquaintances unrelated to insurance. In January 2005, after setting her family's house on fire and having nowhere to go herself, she contacted Kang, whom she used to work for at her own house. She asked if she could stay for a month because she had nowhere to go due to the fire at her house. Kang offered her a room. However, Even after a month had passed, she showed no intention of leaving. So Kang asked when she would leave. She replied that she would leave soon. On the day she promised to leave, she set the house on fire in the early morning while everyone was asleep. This resulted in Kang's husband's death, and Kang and her two children suffered burns. When asked why she set the fire, she said she was angry because she was told to leave the house. Chillingly, the burn center where was initially arrested for arson was the same hospital where Kang and her children were admitted. So had come to this hospital and set fire to it as well. Also approached her acquaintance Yu in her 30s, gave her a drink spiked with sleeping pills, and stole $4,500 from her. Additionally, one of crimes involved her son being hospitalized with a rare disease. She stole $8,000 by stealing the credit card of Jian, the girlfriend of a patient in the same room as her son. Amidst this, when her son died, she stayed overnight at Jian's house and drugged Jian's drink with sleeping pills in the same manner. When Jian woke up, her eyes had melted. From 2000 to 2005, killed or harmed a total of 10 people, leading some to suspect that she might have also killed her daughter and son. In December 2006, was sentenced to life imprisonment on 10 counts. She scored 40 out of 40 in the antisocial personality disorder test, which is the highest score among notorious criminals. She is classified as a dangerous inmate even within the prison,